Hello everyone, today's video is going to be all about chainsaw files. Chainsaw hand files. Not to be mistaken with grinding in any way. First of all, this is not a complete list. It's almost a complete list, but there's I have a steel 2-in-1 file that I was going to add to this, but I have it out at my buddy's house right now, where we're cutting at. He likes using that. So, but probably most people know what that is regardless. This is going to be more of like the anatomy of the hand file for chainsaws. I don't want to get too much into the filing aspect, you know, maybe some of the profiling and stuff like that, but not actual how to file and things of that nature. I want to get the basics, get this all out there. I've been looking on different videos, and you can find a couple files here that do this, a couple files here that do that, you know, handles and what they do, but there's not a very extensive list, you know, from this basic file to all the way to this advanced file. Figured I'd give my twist on it, and that's what we're doing. So let's start with determining what file you want. Okay, yes, I said want, because the manufacturer of your chainsaw or that particular chain and bar will recommend a file to sharpen your chain. Going back to what I said, determine the file that you want, because there's a lot of people out there that actually get better results with a different size file than the manufacturer recommends. So determine that first. Again, this is completely subjective. That being said, let's start with the parts of a file. And for this, I'll just use the most basic file that people see is probably this, some people call it like a bastard file, but let's get away from like machine filing and try to stick specifically with chainsaw chain filing. So this is a depth gauge or raker file right here. And yeah, it's pretty beat up, but I use it a lot. So this is something you'll use on every single chain, regardless of what profile you end up with on the cutter. This is something you dress your rakers, or depth gauge being the technical term, with. Okay? So that being said, let's start with the anatomy, the parts of any file. So let's start right here, this area here, which goes into the handle. It's called the tang. Okay, and that goes into the handle so you don't injure yourself and you have more control over the file. Next, you'll come up, and this is called the heel right here, the heel. You might recognize a lot of these terms if you're into axemanship. Now next, this area here that actually cuts on the top, this is called the face, and some people call this the belly of the file, face or belly. This part right here is called the edge, and this part here is called the point. Okay, next we're going to get into chainsaw file cuts, cut type. Okay, and there are only two in chainsaw files. Really, there's only one, but we'll say two because this is good to know regardless. So there's a single cut and there's a double cut. Okay, and that's the way the file is made or built, right? So you'll see, for example, let's see, this right here is the best, probably the best representation of a single cut file. Let me zoom up on this so you can see better. You'll see here, when they made this file, they have, you know, the cuts, what cuts or files your anything, metal basically, but in this case your cutters, is just a single line all the way through, you know, single lines. It's called a single cut. It's even that way on the edge, see? Single cut file. Okay? Now you'll notice, I'll put this kind of parallel to the camera. You'll notice this goes in a straight line down like that. It's not horizontal at all. Now another file that's a lot like that, it's like at a 45. I don't know what the angle is, but it does come down at an angle, right? Whereas this other file does not. See the difference? But these are both called single cut file types. A double cut file type is probably what you're used to if you are a machinist or use like a bastard file a lot, or some of these bigger files. What'll happen is you'll have these single cuts, but then you'll have an extra cut this way, and it's a lot more aggressive file. Okay, but these are not like that. Most chainsaw files are single cut. You'll get some really aggressive round files. Now this is kind of a dirty one, used one, very used. That'll give the imitation. Let me get something a little better here. The imitation of an aggressive, like double cut. But they're still, if you look really close, still just a single cut. They do something here to make it like a double cut, and I'm not sure what they do there, but in some of these like new aggressive cut round files may be somehow double cut. I'm not sure how they do that. I mean, it would make sense, you know, to get, if you want to get a lot, you know, if you run your tooth into the ground, or, you know, hit rock, hit metal, you know, and you have to get a lot of that metal off there to get your tooth back, it would make sense to have a double cut. So, but still, to me, that still looks like a single cut, you know, going this way. It's almost kind of wavy, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly if that may be called something different now, but it looks like a single cut to me. Okay, let's get into the heart of the video, which is the chainsaw file shapes, shape types, and their use. Okay, and we'll start with the round files here. So as you can see, these are like some common round files that I use. The smallest one here is a 5/32 file. I'm not sure if it says the size on this one or not. These Oregons, some do and some don't. No, it just says Oregon on it. Usually they have the numbers. Yeah, see, like that. Yeah, so this is a 3/16 file next up, or 4.8 millimeter, obviously. Oh, this one doesn't have a size either, does it? Can't tell. Yeah, most of my files do. I can't remember what size this is. I believe this is a let me check this one first. This is the biggest one I have, the biggest file that I ever use. Like on 404, it's a 7/32. And I believe this one is, I cannot remember, 11/64 or something like that, perhaps. And regardless, again, I encourage you to experiment. If your chainsaw manufacturer calls for 11/64 or whatever it is, try other files. Depending on what your profile that you're going for, if you're doing all hardwoods and you're working all day, you don't want a big hook in your chain. For example, if you're working hardwood all day long, you're probably not going to want a big hook in your cutter, and you're going to want a larger diameter file like this, to get more of a shape like this versus this, because this will dull out so much quicker. So again, I'm getting out of context here, but what I'm getting at here is, different files do different things. Not just if you have a, 0.325 gauge chain. Yeah, I mean, you can't even fit one of these in there, but these other two you can, and you might want to experiment with that. And same thing goes for 3/8 and 404. And that's all I have for you on round filing, which is very common. So, okay, next let's go to the newest in the line of hand filing, which is Hexa file that goes with Hexa chain, which is made by Steel. It happens to be my favorite to cut wood with right now. I absolutely love it. I have several of these Hexa files. Again, we'll not get into why I like that over round file and stuff, but what I will get into is how this is made. Again, single cut on your cutters. Okay. Here, let me zoom out so you can see the whole file, I guess. There's the tang, and then it's quite different. It looks complex, but it's actually very easy. Probably the easiest file to use. Let me show you something on Hexa if you haven't seen this before. See this right here, this little ridge? That's the top of the file, and that tells you it's the top of the file. These are idiot-proof files. So perfect for me. Okay, and then you have the top, you have this side, and the bottom blank. Nothing there. We will not file anything. So the reason I highly encourage this file is because of how it's made. You cannot dig into the gullet too far with that bottom being blank. So you have two sides here on the profile for one side of the cutters, and then when you switch it around and file the other side, you have the other two, and you always know this is on the top, okay, and then the bottom is blank. I assumed this was made for a consumer that was a homeowner or farm ranch because it's so simple to use. And it's kind of, like I said, idiot proof. But again, I love it, and a lot of these people who are out there every day doing it professionally, they love it too. It cuts really fast, really good. But again, that's a little bit more in the chain geometry too. It's not necessarily just the Hexa profile. Next, I want to talk about file care. Okay, one big rule in any file in any industry is you never want these to touch each other. You never want the files to touch or rub against each other. They will dull out over time, right? And obviously this is up to you, and I've done it before too. You're in a hurry, you just throw them in a bag and go. But you don't want these to rub against each other. You want to just throw, you know, you don't want to just throw them all together in one thing. I try to keep mine separated out. It's hard, but that's one thing you don't want to do. Also, when you file, remember these files are made to where the cutter actually points like this all the way down, right? They're milled so it's, you know, cut. So where it cuts, you know, when you're pushing forward, okay? So if you rub backwards, it'll start dulling that edge, that cutting edge on the file. So again, when you use a file, the proper way to use it is to only push forward, never rub it back on the metal, only forward, okay? Every time. Next is cleaning the file. So what will happen is you'll get, well, you can see it right here in this. Let me zoom up on that. You can see it right here. This looks like maybe some aluminum or some sort of metal that's stuck in there, right? This file's had it. Probably not a good example for this video, but maybe it is. I don't know. But you can see where I've, you know, rubbed it over and over again. But you can see these little deposits that get stuck in the teeth. So they recommend what's called what is that called? A file card, actually. And you can also use a wire brush, which is what I use. I use this big wire brush right here. Okay, and you just rub with the teeth to clean that out. And then what I also carry is one of these little cheap dollar store nylon brushes. And I'm constantly just trying to get, you know, metal bits out of there. Also tap it. It's good to tap it, you know, in between filings to get some of that out, but that's part of the care for your file. Some of these files are really expensive, so you definitely want to take care of your files. Okay, so storage on a file is whatever you want. I mean, just basically what you want to do is you want to protect the file. What I do is I just get some old paper from, like, you know, shipping or something. Wax paper is what I used to use, which might be better, I don't know, but yeah. You can take your file, put it in here in the wrapping paper. Okay, then you can roll it a couple times. Then you can get another file. Roll it. Get another file. Roll it. Okay, this is for storage, right? So that type of thing, that's what I like to do for storage. Now I have a bag that has individual packs, and then also, you know, you'll get a lot of this stuff, this Echo, where these little, you know, you can put a couple in each, or where you probably shouldn't put a couple because they'll rub against each other, but they're in there real tight, so I don't know, but you know, possibilities are endless with that. But for long-term storage, I definitely recommend something like this. Another thing I want to talk about is, you know, a file should definitely not be used without a handle. You should you know, these are made for a handle, to put a handle on. I've used everything from golf balls to a piece of stick out in the woods that I found, but you know, you can save yourself from injury, and you're usually a lot more accurate. There's all kinds of different handles. There's, like, you know, these old antique ones that I like. You know, you can make your own really easy. I even have golf balls I drill a hole in. Those are nice, but I find myself not being as accurate. Yeah, I like these style though, the wood. But there's these. Killinger makes some too. I'm not sure if he's still doing that, but you know, still makes some pretty nice ones out of, like, a hard plastic, like this one. And I think this is a steel too. Yeah, here's another steel. It's like a softer plastic, which I prefer if I had to use one of these. You just get a better grip, I don't know. And then these like old cheap Oregon ones. These are junk. Look at that. I have a bunch of handles. I have the well, here's one Husqvarna recently made. It's like a quick release, you know. See how it moves here? So when you put the file in, you know, you just kind of push it in there like that. You push it to release it. It doesn't work too bad, except the angle gets off, kinda. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but I don't know. It's okay in a pinch, I guess. And here's kind of a new thing. And Forrester, of all people, made these. You get a file. These are more for round files. You put your little file in here like this. Then you just tighten it. Just like so. Okay. That's pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I thought they were really neat. So then you just loosen it up a little bit and it comes right out. So that's probably the newest type that I've seen. But I'm old school. I like these ones like this, like antiques, like literally antique file handles, because I'm weird. But it's just me. I don't know, something nostalgic about it. You know, my grandfather's generation used these. You know, and it's just, I don't know. That's just me. So again, that's the basics of file. We could also talk about real quick depth gauge tools or raker gauge tools. Here's the two I use. There are several of these out there. And this is actually does both. You know, this thing kind of, you know, wherever you want. You put this on your bar. You rest this on your bar, right? You don't have to hold it, and you just can kind of glide underneath the top plate on your tooth, just like that. See? Rubs. Heard a lot of people say this rubber wears out really quick. Obviously, I don't use this much. And this is so this is kind of a 2-in-1 deal where you also have your depth gauge here. See? So this is for 3/8 chain, and this is the hardwood setting, or the hardwood, you know, where you put this on top of your cutter and put your raker through here, and you just rub it there, or, you know, gauge it, and then take it off and take some off if needed. And this is basically the same thing. I can't remember. I think I got this from Husqvarna too, but this is more like they use these a lot in the West Coast, but I use them here in Indiana. Some of these are off a bit. It's called a progressive raker gauge or progressive depth gauge, and it's definitely the best to use in my opinion, versus those little cheap ones you set on top, because the progressive gauge, if this is your chain, your bar, you know, the ones that you buy from like big box stores, they just lay flat. This actually goes at an angle, okay, and then you dress your raker like that, so it's more of an angle. So in theory it would be less resistant to the wood. So I don't know, just something I like. And it has a soft, you know, a soft and a hardwood setting. Softwood is more aggressive, probably around 35 thousandths, and the hardwood is like more around 25 thousandths. But yeah, you just use your file, you know, for that. That's what that's for. So anyway, that's about all I got for you guys. I hope someone out there learned something, or hopefully I helped somebody. I'm looking to make more videos like this coming up on the channel. So if you like this content, or if you have any suggestions, please let me know. And please leave a comment and tell me what I can do better, or if there's anything I might know that could help you out. Okay, thanks for watching.